what almost entirely determined the success of a hatch, of a spawn, was the carbonate ion, or the shell mineral stability, in the water in which they were spawned. And so it was a very narrow window of time. The first 48 hours of the life of these organisms seemed to entirely predict how they would do 2 weeks later.
I think it's going to be a timing thing, timing issue of when do you have the worst water in the ocean, and what species is producing larvae at that time. Because there's times a year, I mean, like you take razor clams and they spawn out in the spring, and it's usually pretty good water, okay? But I think if you get species that are spawning out in late summer, I think those species are going to be at risk. I don't have that list in front of me, but and then the other question is how bad is this water going to get? See, is it just going to be a window of water in a certain time of year, or is that going to expand? And will it overlay? So I can't say for sure. I just think that, I mean, I think it would be ignorant to say that it's not going to have an effect on the ocean. There's no way. I mean, the effect it has here is unbelievable. So it's going to have an effect on species, without a doubt.
The impacts of having these kinds of changes happen on such a large scale, and in the event that they became catastrophic, are really more than just economic. Clearly it affects my ability to do business here, to sell local fish if the supply is diminished or threatened in that way. And of course, everybody else who's involved in that, the entire fleet that goes and catches, the support services here, the supply stores, the ice purveyors, the transportation providers. But it really impacts you on another level, because for somebody like myself that considers themselves a third generation commercial fisher, even though I don't go out and ply the waters every day anymore, it's really your whole, kind of your legacy and culture. There's a whole identity for us here on the coast that are in this industry that we have a lot of pride in, and it's something that would be impossible to replace.
We know that these impacts are happening. What we don't know, and what we need to know, is what's happening to the ecosystem at large. We anticipate and are concerned about impacts to fish. We're concerned about impacts to crustaceans like crab and shrimp, but we need more research. And what we know now is that some of the species that are low on the food chain are being impacted, and that implies that there are ecosystem-wide, food web-wide impacts that we're going to start to see.
We're going to see changes in chemistry that the rest of the ocean won't see for decades and decades. So on the one hand, we're going to be the hardest and first hit. But on the other hand, I think it's important that what we learn today in Oregon's coastal waters, that is invaluable. There's really no substitute for the kinds of information that we're going to gain by understanding our ocean. There's no substitute for that.